Shubh Deepavali. Namaste. Today I'm going to read Book 11, Chapter 10, on the subject of Gauna Bhasma in the Maha Devi Bhagavatam. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kurane Sapakaya Ekadantaya. Hariyam Tatsat. Narayana said, O knower of Brahma, O Narada, the ashes prepared from ordinary fire are secondary, Gauna. The greatness of this secondary ashes is to be considered by no means trifling. This also destroys the darkest ignorance and reveals the highest knowledge. It is of various kinds amongst the secondary ashes that prepared from Virajagni is the best. It is equivalent to that obtained from Agnihotra Yajna, and it is as glorious. The ashes obtained from the marriage sacrificial fire, that obtained from the burning of the samid fuel, which is obtained from the conflagration of fire, are known as the secondary ashes. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas should use the ashes from the Agnihotra and the Viraja fire. For the householders, the ashes from the marriage sacrificial fire are good. From the Brahmacharis, the ashes from the Samit fuel are good, and for the Sudras, the fire and of the cooking place of the Veda knowing Brahmanas is good. For the other persons, the ashes obtained from the conflagration of fire are good. Now I will talk on the origin of the ashes obtained from the Viraja fire. The chief season of the Viraja fire sacrifice is the full moon night with Chaitra asterism with the moon. If this does not take place, the sacrifice may be performed at other seasons, and it should be remembered that the fit place is where one adopts as one's dwelling place. The auspicious field, garden, or forest is also commendable for the above sacrifice. On the Trayodashi Tithi, the 13th night preceding the full moon night, one is to complete one's bathing and sandhya. Then one is to worship one's guru and bow down before him. Then, receiving his permission, the sacrificer is to put on pure clothing and perform the special puja. Then, with his white sacrificial thread, white garlands, and white sandal paste, one is to sit on the kusa seat with sacrificial kusa grass in one's hands. With his face towards the east or north, he is to perform pranayama thrice. Then he is to meditate on Shiva and Bhagavati and get mentally their permissions. O Deva Bhagavan, O Mother Bhagavati, I will perform this vow for my lifetime, thus making the resolve he should start with this sacrifice. But this is to be known that this vrata can be performed for 12 years, for 6 years, for 3 years, for 1 year, for 6 months, for 12 days, for 6 days, for 3 days, even at least for 1 day. But in every case, he must take mentally the permission of the Deva and the Devi. Now, to perform the Viraja Homa, one is to light the fire according to one's Kriya Sutras, and then perform Homa with ghee, Samidhi fuel, or with charu, and oblation of rice, milk, and sugar boiled together. Then on the 14th lunar day, Chaturdasi, one is to pray, let the tattvas principles in me be purified, and then perform the Homa ceremony with Samid, etc., as above mentioned. Now, recollecting that my principles in my body are purified, he is to offer oblations to the fire, in other words, uttering Pratitatvas me Sudyatam Jyotiraham Viraja Vipapma Bhuyasyam Svaha. One is to offer oblations to the fire, thus uttering the 5 elements, Mahabhutas, 5 Tanmatras, 5 Karmendriyas, organs of actions, 5 Gyanendriyas, organs of perception, 5 Pranas, 7 Dhatus, Tvak, etc., mind, buddhi, intellect, ahamkara, egoism, sattva, raja, tamagunas, prakriti, purusa, raga, vidya, kala, arts, etc., deva, fate, kala, time, maha, sudha, vidya, maheshvara, sada, shiva, shakti, shiva, tattva, etc., respectively by its own name. One is to offer oblations to the fire by the 5-lettered Viraja mantra. Then the sacrificer will become pure, then form a round ball of fresh cow dung, and purifying it by mantram, place it on fire and carefully wash it. On that day, the devotee is to take Havesyana, a sacred food of boiled rice with ghee, on the morning of the Chaturdasi. He used to perform his daily duties as above, and then to perform Homa on that fire. Uttering the 5-lettered mantra, he is not to take any food the rest of the time. On the next day, that is, on the full moon day, after performing the morning duties, he is to do the Homa ceremony, uttering the 5-lettered mantra, and then take leave of the fire invoked for worship. He is then to raise up the ashes. Then the devotee is to keep jata, matted hair, or to shave clean his head, or to keep only one lock of hair on the crown of the head. He is to take his bath, then and if he can, then he should be naked or put on a red colored cloth, hide, or one piece of rag or bark. He is to take a staff and a belt, washing his hands and feet and sipping twice. He, by his 2 hands, is to pulverize the ashes and uttering the 6 Atharvan mantras, fire is ashes, and so forth. Apply ashes from his head to foot. Then, as before, he is to apply ashes gradually to his arms, etc., and all over the body, uttering the pranava of Shiva, Vam, Vam. He is to put on the Triyayusa Tripundra on his forehead. After he has done this, the Jiva, the embodied self, becomes Shiva, the free self, and he should behave himself like Shiva. O Narada, thus at the 3 Sandhya periods, he is to do like this. This Pasupata Vrata is the source of enjoyment as well as liberation, and as well as a cessation of all brutal desires. By the performance of this vrata, the devotee is to free himself gradually of his animal feelings, and then to worship Bhagavan Sadashiva in the form of a phallic symbol. The above bath, ashes, is highly meritorious, and it is the source of all the happiness. By holding the ashes, one's longevity is prolonged, one gets even great bodily strength, becomes healthy, and his beauty increases, and he gets nourishment. This using of ashes is for the preservation of one's own self. It is the source of one's good and of all sorts of happiness and prosperity. Those who use ashes, bhasma, are free from the danger of plague and other epidemic diseases. This bhasma is of three sorts, and it leads to the attainment of peace, nourishment, or to the fulfillment of all desires. Here ends the 10th chapter of the 11th book on the subject Gona Bhasma, secondary ashes, in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Vedvyasa. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali. Om Tua Mata Chapitatu. Hari Om Tat Sat.